It's your boy! What's up, everybody? You're probably wondering what I'm doing at the pool. Well, number one, enjoy it. Number two, today we're gonna be redoing a song by a band called Washed Out. And one of the things I always think about when I think about Washed Out and their sound and chill wave is the ocean. Well, unfortunately, I live in Georgia and there is no ocean near me. So I had to improvise and we're doing it at the pool today. This song you might recognize from a show called Portlandia. The song is called Feel It All Around, and that's the subject of today's video. But before we get into it, we gotta talk about today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Basic Waves. If you guys haven't checked out these shirts, there's a link in the description down below to their website. You can check out all sorts of colors, a couple of basic designs, and it's just about the basic waveforms, the 4 basic waveforms, right? Apparently these shirts have been selling like mad, so thank y'all for supporting the channel. Thank y'all for purchasing a shirt. If you'd like one, link in the description down below. If you use the code, I get a little bit of a kickback. It helps out the show, helps us grow. So yeah, like I said before, these things are way comfortable. I ordered mine, and I believe it's an XL. No, mine's just a large. So if you're a tall, skinny boy like me, large works out great. But these things are 100% ring spun cotton. They feel great. They wash great. Still vibrant. This is after 2 or 3 washes. Still looks great. Nothing's peeled. Nothing's cracked. Everything's keeping up. So keep up the good work, Basic Waves. Keep sending me shirts. You'll notice that Lila is back. I got a couple of comments that were like, "Where's Lila?" She's fine. It's just like lately I've been recording my videos like at night or in the garage, where she really shouldn't be in the garage because there's like fumes from the car and the potential for her to escape and not come back. Feel It All Around is a song in 4/4. It's a very simple song. There's only 2 chords in the song. It relies on something called a pivot chord, which we'll get into. And it's an ostinato type of bass line. It's the same thing throughout the song. There's some kind of industrial sounding drums that we'll get into, as well as a tom fill that comes every once in a while. There isn't a pad synthesizer, which I thought, after investigating, it's not a pad, it's a sample of the vocals going ooh and ah, with like a lot of widening and a lot of dip in the middle, so you get only the lows and highs out of the voices, which I'll show you how to make that. And altogether, it sounds like this. Oh, it's at 86 beats per minute. Every once in a while, this lead comes in on the chorus part that goes da ba ba. I think it's a guitar. It might actually be a synth. Most of the stuff in here is a synth. The actual bump bump bump, bo dump dump dump. That's a synth. There's also a bling ling ling ling. It's got like an echo on it. You can hear it right at the very beginning. With a desynced echo, as well as kind of a DX7, like a Yamaha emulated kind of keys strike that happens on, I think every other beat. You know what? Let's just get into it. First thing we need to do is get these drums figured out, and they're pretty easy. It's 4 on the floor. It's it kind of reminds me of Justice in how industrial it is. It's I know exactly what snare I want. Bill's got one in the sample pack that sounds awesome. Let's get a MIDI track in here and see if we can figure out this bass line. That's kind of the most driving part of this entire song, is that don't 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 do do don't don't. I'm missing a clap in the drums. I'll go back to that later, but there's definitely a clap in there I didn't hear a minute ago. Ba-dum-bum. It's actually pretty similar. Let's see if we can turn off the ARP, because I think we've got something really close here. turn off all the effects because I don't need your shitty effects, Serum. EQ8, we're gonna get a little bit of. There's another layer of snare drum sound going on in here. It's just a clap. So let's see if we can find a good clap. I've got a good one in mind. It's a Vengeance clap from the early days of music production. I just found a shortcut. I didn't even mean to. If you highlight an area in Ableton, apparently, and press the Z key on your keyboard, it zooms into that. Neat. 2 more synthesizers. Again, one's kind of a DX7 emulator, which is a Yamaha synthesizer, and the other one is it's again. I think I'm gonna use the same Serum level of presets for this. It's just a triad. Let's find a better synth for it though. 80s synthwave. Because I mean, the thing about chillwave is it uses 80s synth pop and synthwave presets, sounds, etc. from actual 80s hardware instruments, which I'm pretty sure they're just using a DX7 for all this stuff. But that's the aesthetic of chillwave. Is this like sort of, you know, mellowed out version of what was popular in the 80s. And that's why it sounds the way it does. I mean, it's a little slower, it's a little bit more mellow. It's great music to like chill to. That's why it's called chillwave. We're gonna use Ableton's Echo for this. Alright, so what we're gonna do with this is duplicate it, and we're gonna freeze and flatten it. Next thing to do is get that key strike in there, which I'm actually going to use the same DX7 patch for. We're getting there. Now we need those airy vocals, which I'm going to get to when I make the airy vocals, which I'll do last off camera because I just don't like doing vocals on camera. I get too much shit. You guys give me too much shit for my vocals. All right. So we've got this stuff all figured out. Every once in a while there's like a tom fill that goes do 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 do. Let's see if I can find the part of the song where that happens and show you guys what I'm talking about. Listen. Ta 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 ta. Let's find some good tom samples. Na, na, na. To really get that chillwave aesthetic, I'm going to use my old Epiphone Les Paul that is a lot shittier than my Paul Reed Smith on purpose. This song is basically finished, and as I said before, this is going to be available on my Patreon page to people who want to download it and take it apart and look at it. Even if you don't have Ableton, I always upload stems with my projects. So I just got done recording the vocals, and there really is a cool vocal effect happening here that I would like to highlight. It's a dovetail. So what these guys have done is at the very end of this phrase right here, we'll work it out, and then they take out and they make a dovetail out of it, so this happens. Then we also have pivot chords, and I want to talk about this particular pivot chord and how effective it is. And to do this, we're going to look at the keyboard. So my very rudimentary definition of a pivot chord is a set of chords, usually 2 or more, that contain the same tone at an important position. Okay? Now this Normally it's referring to chromatic mediant exchange, which we'll talk about some other time, but a very rudimentary pivot chord right here. Right here we have, and then, and the tone that we're pivoting around is this one right here, C. It's in the same position, which is the 4th out of 5 positions in this chord stack here. It's also in the 4th position out of the second stack of notes, 4th position here. For the sake of this song, it's important that it remains in the same position. We also see here a change in functional harmony. So at this point, this note is functioning as the 7th in this chord stack right here, which is essentially a D major minor 7. Excuse me, D flat major minor 7. And the second chord stack, it's functioning as a 9th. So there's a change in functional harmony happening for this particular tone, but the tone itself doesn't change, and that's why I call this particular arrangement a pivot chord. Now, is it the prototypical definition of a pivot chord? Probably not, and I'm sure some theory super nerd is going to let me know that in the comments down below. But something else we need to consider here is that what the implication of this pivot chord is static harmony. So the harmony itself is changing every bar, but the effect is that it's remaining static because of that singular tone that remains the same throughout the entirety of the piece. And this sort of kind of gives me that feeling of being in the ocean, where I'm staying in one place, yet I'm rising and falling. You didn't think I was going to tie it back in, but I did. Let's listen to the whole thing now. As always, it's Gardner and Lila the Bird signing off, and we'll see you guys on Thursday or Friday.